After some invisible elephants and sign language gorillas, things can only go up from there, right? Well, kind of. Today we're looking at Død Kalm, episode 19 of season 2. Debuting March 10th, 1995 on the Fox network, Død Kalm follows our agents as Mulder leads them to a US military ship thought to be lost, but it harbors a deadly secret. The episode begins as a bunch of men abandon ship, despite the captain doing his best to convince them not to.
That's an order!
Some 18 hours later, and a very Canadian fishing vessel comes across the lifeboat of all the men that escaped. But when they pull the boat over to them, it looks as if all the men aboard aged a good 50 years. At the Bethesda Naval Hospital, soon to be renamed the Microsoft Naval Hospital, Mulder informs Scully that 18 men were found from a missing ship, and of the 18, there's only one still alive.
They won't let me in to see him, but because of your medical background, I was able to get you a clearance code.
So basically, Mulder just called her in so he could use her. Mulder fucks back off to the office, leaving Scully to work on something I'm sure she would rather not be doing.
According to this report, Lieutenant Harper is 28 years old.
That's a rough 28. Although people for some reason did look older back in the day. Scully starts questioning what they're doing with the lieutenant, and a Dr. Lascos gets real bitchy real quick.
I wasn't aware that my diagnostic decisions required your approval. Who are you?
Oh, but this brings us back to a long-awaited return of everyone's favorite segment. Scully tells someone she's a medical doctor.
Who are you?
I'm a medical doctor and I'd like to see the autopsy reports on the remaining victims.
The sassy doctor has had all she can take of Scully making her look stupid and sends her on her way. Scully tells Mulder what she saw, and of course, well, he already knew.
Another Bermuda Triangle?
It's more like a wrinkle in time if Lieutenant Harper is any indication.
We go from young men becoming old to Mulder now thinking this all happened because the Navy are experimenting with alien technology and wormholes. Mulder's heading to Norway to take in the lovely sights and sounds, and maybe a black metal show or two. And to everyone's surprise, Scully wants to go as well, because she needs to know what happened to the lieutenant.
0 for 5.
What is it, Mulder? Why are they so afraid?
It seems no one wants to help the agents meet their destination because they all seem to be afraid of something. It's just their luck though, because there just so happens to be an American there named Henry Trondheim, and wouldn't you know it, he has a boat.
Well, legends. They grew up on stories.
What stories?
A huge stone came out of the sky, crashed into the pack ice.
All the others seem to be scared of something that fell from the sky, some evil god. That is probably best they just leave be, but good luck trying to keep Mulder away.
How much longer till we get there?
Well, we're right where you want to be. I even think we've got what you're looking for.
They find the missing ship and it looks like it's been out to sea for 30 years, but Mulder points out it's only dated 1991, and of course when no one is looking, it seems to spontaneously rust even further.
Mulder.
Cured meat. The previous crew all seem to have been turned into jerky, but no time for a taste test because it sounds like someone just stole their boat. So with no boat, a corroded engine on the ship, and the radio destroyed, well, it looks like they're boned. Trondheim would love some answers as he just lost his livelihood, but I don't think he was expecting military experiments or wormholes. Trondheim's crewman may have gotten himself into some trouble, so the agents head off with their guns drawn. And it looks as if someone or something decided to smash him in the noggin. Mulder checks what looks to be a refrigerator, but he seems to have bad luck when it comes to those.
Who are you?
Captain Barkley.
The captain from the beginning of the episode now looks to be 50 years older, and what caused it may have been some strange glowing object in the sea. Reason 4324 for why I avoid large bodies of water. Trondheim gives his first mate a burial at sea when some big Viking-looking dude attacks him with a metal pipe. Luckily, Mulder arrives in time before things can escalate any further.
Everybody until this guy knows him. He's a pirate whaler. He's a wanted criminal.
The ship apparently picked up 4 Norwegian sailors, so there could be more aboard. I think they should ask the captain where the others could be.
Mulder, Captain Barclay's dead.
Ooh, never mind then. The captain died from the same thing the others have, but as Scully points out, it's almost as if he's turning into salt.
Scully.
Mulder, what happened to you?
Oh my god, is this what happens when Scully doesn't get to use her face mask? They all seem to be rapidly aging like the men on the ship, except Giant Olafsson here, who hasn't changed a bit. Scully starts going on about some nerdy sciencey stuff that goes right over my head, but the ship looks like it's bleeding.
It's not blood, Scully. It's rust.
Mulder notices one of the pipes is still perfectly intact, so he and Scully follow it to find out why it seems to be unaffected. Meanwhile, Olaf is trying to convince Trondheim that he knows what's going on, but he'll only tell him if Trondheim cuts him loose, which definitely doesn't sound like a stupid idea to me. No, don't go in there, that's where the Fluke Man is. What they find are a bunch of rats hanging out where Olaf and his men had hid, and Mulder theorizes that it was the recycled wastewater that had kept the men alive. All the other water seems to have been contaminated with something that has caused the rapid aging. Trondheim killed Olaf and now he's drinking toilet water. I think I would rather just die of the old age. Mulder questions Trondheim where Olaf went to, and Trondheim just claims he must have broke free while he fell asleep.
It's the water, Trondheim. Something got into the desal tanks, but the water in the sewage system is untainted.
Toilet water for everyone.
I don't know how Scully has time to write in her journal while they all seem to die of rapid aging. Trondheim doesn't seem to think the water is helping Mulder much and suggests they save the rest of it for Scully and himself. I think he just wants Scully alone, and well, who could blame him? Although maybe not so much in her current state.
Mulder's urinalysis continues to indicate his kidney's failure to excrete the substance I'm calling heavy salt.
So they're dying from spooky salt water. Alright. Scully shuts her eyes for 1 second and Trondheim has disappeared, but a noise coming from somewhere in the ship gets her attention.
There's enough to keep us all alive for a few more days.
Or one of us alive. Long enough to be rescued.
Trondheim isn't much for sharing and locks her out of the room, saving all the water for himself. She really should have shot him when she had the chance. Scully then frantically searches for any source of water that could be uncontaminated.
It's sardine juice, half a dozen lemons, and the water from a snow globe.
Look, I know Scully is just trying to help, but snow globes are filled with antifreeze, not water. It doesn't matter because they're both too stubborn to drink this concoction anyways. Either the outer hull has corroded through, or it was Godzilla. So much for the water though, because whatever just caused that shakeup made the glass fall and break. Boy, did Trondheim screw himself over. This is what he gets for trying to hoard the water for himself. Although he may have actually saved Mulder and Scully for the time being by keeping the water contained, well, at least for now.
I always thought when I got older I'd maybe take a cruise somewhere. This isn't exactly what I had in mind.
Mulder ends up losing consciousness as supplies have been completely exhausted, and then Scully starts talking about Ragnarok and the end of the world because she's always so chipper.
Agent Scully.
These two have to be the luckiest pair on the planet. But oh, look who it is, Miss Attitude. It's a good thing she had Scully's notes to go over, otherwise she would have no idea how to treat them of their mystery ailment. Also, for the first time, it appears as though Scully wants to go back and study whatever happened to them, as it's usually Mulder that wants to do that. But too bad, the ship sank. Død Kalm is a very weird episode. I mean, it's not as weird as the last one, but just what the hell happened exactly? What I want to know is how did this glowing object only affect the water that was on the ship and not all of the water that was around? You would think there would be dead sea life everywhere as everything would have died from aging, but it only seemed to affect the water on the ship and not even all the water on the ship. There also seems to be a downward trend within Hollywood when it comes to old age makeup. Rarely does it look good, but it only seems to get worse as time goes on. Compare the makeup in this episode with the old age makeup from Prometheus, which came out almost 17 years after, and then compare both of these with Max von Sydow from The Exorcist, and how does a film from 1973 have better old age makeup than both of these newer projects? Can we just stop doing shows and TV where people require old age makeup, because rarely does it actually look good? Død Kalm currently has a 7.5 on IMDb, which is surprisingly high. I would probably give it a 5 or a 6. It's fine, but the story is weird and the makeup is laughable. The episode was written by Howard Gordon.
There's one thing I'm certain of. As certain as I am of this life. Howard Gordon is a dead man.
And prior to writing the episode, Chris Carter had gotten permission from the Canadian Forces to shoot the episode's colony and endgame aboard the HMCS Mackenzie, which was a decommissioned destroyer. Well, Chris, not wanting to waste an opportunity, asked Howard Gordon to write another episode that would also take place on a ship, as they still had access to it. Initially, they thought because they were using the same ship, it would be somewhat of a break for the production crew. Chris himself even said it would give everyone a great rest. However, a bunch of issues popped up that would prove otherwise. The first problem was the substantial drop in temperature, which made filming difficult for both the cast and the crew. Next were the cramped filming conditions. The ship didn't have a lot of room, so it almost felt like everyone was on top of one another. And lastly, the makeup added to the headaches. David and Gillian would spend hours every day in makeup, which would cause massive delays in shooting. And to top it off, both David and Gillian hated putting the makeup on. Director Rob Bowman would go on to call Død Kalm the episode from hell, because of all the issues they were having during filming. Most of the scenes were shot on the interior and exterior of the Mackenzie, which was repainted a rust brown to make it look old and abandoned. The ship was moved to a more remote location to avoid light pollution when filming shots at night. This move ended up costing the production team $10,000. Shortly after filming, the Mackenzie was scuttled, which is intentionally sinking the ship so it can be used as an artificial reef for aquatic life. To make part of the shoot easier, they looked for a set that could be used as both a hospital and a bar, an idea that most on the show thought would be impossible. They eventually settled on the Jericho Sailing Club in Vancouver, and once it was finished, both the cast and crew thought it was amazing. David was very pleased with this, mostly because it was really close to where he was living at the time, and well, because of this, for future shoots, they would always scout locations nearby where the main stars were living to make traveling and shooting schedules a bit easier. The title for the episode is meant to represent Norwegian for Død Kalm, but it's all apparently gibberish. While Død does mean dead, Kalm isn't even a Norwegian word. A literal translation would be the word you're seeing on your screen right now, because I'm not even going to attempt to say it. But I think the whole thing was just a stylistic choice anyways, and was most likely inspired by the film Død Kalm. John Savage played the role of Henry Trondheim. He's an American actor and has a whole host of credits, including some greats like Carnosaur 2, Alien Lockdown, and I don't know, some movie called The Deer Hunter. I don't know, I'm sure it sucks. I mean, it can't possibly be as good as Carnosaur 2.
What is this? They found a way to bring back dinosaurs.
Vladimir Kulich played the big Norwegian Olafsson. He was born in the Czech Republic and got his start with a bit part in the 1989 series Wise Guy. He doesn't have a huge resume, but his most notable role would probably be his voice work as Ulfric Stormcloak in the hit video game Skyrim. I just hope he gets paid every time they re-release the game, because he may be the richest man in the world if that were the case. David Cubitt played Captain Barclay. He was born in England but moved to Vancouver with his family when he was only 6 months old. He began his career with a bit part in 21 Jump Street and has done quite well for himself in the realm of TV acting, with his biggest gig being 121 episodes on the show Medium as Detective Lee Scanlon. Død Kalm is another weird episode that I can't really recommend. Although you may like it more, it just doesn't do that much for me, except get me ranting on how bad the makeup is. But thank God for the next episode, because next up is one of my all-time favorites, as Mulder and Scully head to a freak show carnival where mysterious murders seem to be taking place in the episode Humbug. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Let me know down in the comments your thoughts on Død Kalm, and as always, stay spooky.
Friday.
Captain!
Aboard an abandoned warship,
They almost look mummified.
Scully and Mulder are exposed to an unknown disease.
Mulder, what happened to you?
Now they're aging 10 years every 10 minutes, and time is running out.
He isn't gonna make it.
A brand new X-Files Friday at 9, 8 Central.